Good afternoon or good morning, whenever, good evening. Maybe you're listening to this after work.
Right away. What are you saying? Welcome to the Sasageyo Podcast.
Yes, welcome. We're so glad you're here.
An Attack on Titan rewatch podcast.
Yes.
My name is Leah Byers.
My name's Tim Byers. We're a married couple who both just finished, with about 2 months ago, finished the Attack on Titan anime.
The whole thing.
Oh, man.
We know you were waiting for it.
Yeah.
And we finished it.
Long
as
time
you probably
coming.
did. And we were trying to find, we're basically trying to find some sort of podcast recap stuff. And we couldn't find what we were looking for. So we were like, why not do our own and go through it from the beginning? So that's what this podcast is all about.
Yeah, it's a little, in denial, right?
Yeah,
it's like
we're in
with
denial.
the show this good, you're like, kind of transitioning into what specifically this podcast is about. We're going to be watching the anime episode by episode, dubbed, subbed, and reading through the manga, the respective chapters. So the manga kind of will jump around. They will include some details a little bit later, where the anime will include it a little bit sooner.
Wait, what do you mean?
Like, as plot points go, or certain kind of moments, sometimes the anime will bring that revealing detail earlier
in the manga.
Then the manga. The manga we'll talk about it
so
later.
it's a little bit more out of order. We're gonna filter it in as we go through each episode, and we're really excited to go through it. And just to give you some backstory about us, we, Tim.
I started watching it in 2013.
So when it started.
Or maybe excuse me, 2014 is when it was on Netflix, because I know I was like a second semester freshman in high school, and I was like, I grew up watching like the Ghibli movies. That was probably my exposure to anime at that time.
His gateway.
My gateway, it's as it is gateway for drug. Like nearly everyone. And then I was like, I like anime, and I saw this, and it's called Attack on Titan. It seems
Sounds
like
cool.
Like attack is a cool word, Titan is a cool word. Sure, just throw that in there. And so I watched it, and immediately, we'll get into it. It just hooks you.
Yeah. I don't watch any of this stuff. And so you have someone who is very into it, and me who is not so much. Oh, well, I'm into this show, obviously, but anime
as a whole,
not very into anime. But I was hooked by this show.
Talk about spoilers at the end of the episode, but really what we'll be talking about episode by episode is
just what's happening.
What's happened in the episode. So the expectation is that you've watched the episode, so we will.
Yeah, obviously, I don't know why you'd be listening to this if you haven't watched Attack on Titan.
But
you never know.
Watching it as we're talking about it,
Yeah.
I've already seen episode 1 at this point.
Yeah, it's 20 minutes.
So just binge it now.
Yeah. And we will be doing, one fun thing we're going to do is we are going to be doing a count on the death count of each episode. So how many deaths there are. And then we're going to have a count on how many times Mikasa says Eren.
Yeah. It's a lot.
It's a lot not in the beginning.
Not at the beginning. Eventually it gets
surprised.
more. I feel like and I don't know if it's different between dubbed and sub, like if they say it more in one version versus the other.
Because there are a lot of differences we've noticed in the dubbed and subbed, that things are said slightly differently, which can change a lot of it.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to think how that's going to play out. And then even the manga too. The manga has more information than even obviously the show. So we'll be giving those little tidbits for you guys who don't want to read the manga and who just want to get as much information because you liked the show. So,
and where we won't be spoiling certain details, we'll at least point out, like, pay attention to this line, pay attention to this opening scene because they reference it a lot, or whatever, the symbolism. So it'll be maybe quote unquote vague spoilers, but without details, you know, so.
Yeah. So are we ready to get started?
Yeah.
Did we want to say anything else in the beginning? I don't think so.
I love Attack on Titan.
Oh, if you're
That's all I want to say.
If you're watching the video, we have the 2 manga sets of season 1. We have part 1 and part 2. So you can
books 1 through 8.
that. Yeah, books volumes 1 through 8, I think.
Volumes 1
and
through 8.
Yeah, and they came with stickers.
Yeah, honestly,
so we have stickers from them.
If you're wanting to read the manga, get the box sets because that's just golden, and it's cool art too.
Yeah,
you know,
the art's really cool.
Fun to display.
We put the stickers on our what is it? Our like pill box for our vitamin.
Yeah,
boxes.
there's like a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday,
we
Saturday.
Put someone's face on each of the days.
Yeah, like the key character.
Makes it more fun.
Yeah, you know, I'm like, Aaron is telling me to eat my vitamins on Thursday. So. Yeah. So anyways, without further ado, we can jump on into it.
Okay, we're going to go scene by scene. And we're just going to point out some things. It's really funny looking at our notes. We both have our notes on the same document. Tim's are very like orderly and, you know, he's boring. It's in, what is it? Arial font, Times New Roman. Boring.
I work at a university, so.
Mine's in, I mean, no one would know this font, but it's Molly font. It kind of looks like handwriting. So that says a lot about us.
Yeah.
How we organize things.
How it's
and mine's fun. Yours just looks like an official document. Mine just kind of looks like a mess. And I have a lot of random notes, which you guys will kind of see what we both look at in each episode. So.
Yeah. So I took the primary lead on notes for this episode. So, you know, right off the bat, we're just going to talk about the opening scene, the opening like really minute or two, and how it opens, you know, kind of eerie, ominous. The main characters are there. Great or I don't know if you'd call it cinematography, animation,
Great
right
animation.
off the bat. So real, it's like cinematography, but no, it's like how it focuses on like the horror and Aaron's
right
eyeball.
off the bat, very eerie. There's like a dog barking silently, kind of terrifying. I realized watching it back, so like we've watched it all the way through, and maybe some of you guys are wanting to rewatch it. So rewatch it with us; it'll be fun. But rewatching it, I thought I'd be a little bit more desensitized to, you know, all the things that happen, but I feel like I'm actually more sensitive to it because
you know the characters more.
So you're more attached to them, and then you know the reality of everything that happens after. So I thought I'd be desensitized. I'm definitely more sensitized. Is that how you say it? I don't know.
Probably.
Sensitive. What? Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
And so
right off the bat, right? So it kind of the first like shot is a bird flying. Birds in general for the show are like a big symbolic motif, if you would. They're always referenced, they're always seen. The idea of
and you'll see
freedom,
it a couple times in this,
limitless, not bound by anything.
You'll see it a couple times in just the first episode that there's a lot of symbolism. And isn't there a point in the manga where it says it? We can get to that part. But,
a little bit later in the episode.
And then you hear Aaron say, and just like that, everything changed.
Yeah. In that the difference of humanity is essentially the equivalence humanity is cattle surrounded by basically predators.
Okay.
So
is that what they say?
Basically, that these walls are a pen and that humanity is cattle.
Yep. And then you see the walls and it goes into this epic
You see this
music montage.
Big Daddy Titan is what we're calling him right now.
Are we calling him Big Daddy Titan? I thought we were just calling him Big Titan.
Oh, I don't know. He can be called Big Daddy Titan.
Okay, you see this Big Daddy Titan.
Big Daddy Titan.
Because we don't know the name of this Titan yet, so we're going to come up with random names for now until we know the actual name.
Yeah.
So I guess his name's Big Daddy Titan.
Yeah.
I don't know. The opening music happens.
Well, then it goes into the whole scene with scouts essentially trying to make their first stronghold outside the walls. And you do see some pivotal characters while they're younger being a part of the like garrison or regiment, I guess, which is kind of cool looking back on it. You're like, hey, I know that guy, or I recognize him, you know, so, or her. Yeah,
you see the characters. And one thing is when you see the Big Daddy tie-in over the wall, the one thing I noticed was his butt cheeks.
He's got a bit of a monkey butt, a little flat.
I just noticed
he needs to work on his
cheeks.
squats, that's for sure.
I don't think he does. But I just thought that was funny. You notice those little things, and you're like, that's silly. But this tie-in going into this, we don't know that they're tie-ins yet. Sorry, spoiler.
So at this
point,
don't
know the name.
At this point in the episode, until the end, they don't say Titans at all until like basically they break through the wall. You know,
so we don't know what they're called. We just see these giant things, and you know, you can put it together by the name of the show, but they haven't said it yet. So
and like a cool thing too, that since they don't say, you know, they don't call them Titans, they just say them, they, you know, it's very vague. And then same thing with these two opening scenes, with the exception of Big Daddy Titan, they don't show the faces of them. It's like very kind of silhouetted, darkened, which just kind of adds, I think, towards the end of the episode when it's revealed. The mystery
of these beings.
We'll get there.
He has that tie-in when they're, you know, all the soldiers are going towards it. His
very
face
downcast,
is shaded, but he has a big beer belly too.
And it ends, you know, with the regiment trying to attack the nape of the neck.
He's like, get the nape.
For humanity. And then it, you know, cuts right into
my brothers. For humanity.
Then it goes right into the opening theme song, the legendary. And she ruined it for me. She's going to tell you why.
Okay. I just ruined it for you. You're never going to unhear it. But that's what I hear every time I hear that intro song.
And it's a good intro song. Good animation. Always, though, in anime openings, and there's a lot of jokes about this on like social media, it's like so random, like they're flying usually, or like
this opening reveals a lot of people who are going to be in the show, literally everyone.
Well, because it's the opening for like essentially the first 12-13 episodes, right? So it's like they kind of have to reveal more than than it has already been announced, but it's a good song. You know, you could run on a treadmill to this song. And in our next episode, I'm gonna tell everybody the words to that song because I have all the words written down. And it's very long, so you're gonna have to buckle up for that. But we're gonna do that not today. Do that another time.
So yes, we see that everybody's revealed, and what happens next?
So after the opening, it goes into the first scene, and this is it's referenced a lot, this scene, and there's a lot of cool details between the anime and the manga of this scene, some of which I can't say until the end because it's spoiler for the rest of the show, but I'll at least say, you know, talk about things that are worth pointing out too. So first of all, this episode is titled To You in 2,000 Years, which is in and of itself an interesting, you know, I feel like title for any, you know, episode, but it's also really applicable. So remember that if this is your first time watching, it's
that's a big deal.
It's pretty cool.
It's crazy how much the writer and creator of the show thought
Hajime Isayama.
What
a legend.
What a legend. What a name. I'm not even going to try to say it. I won't say it right. But he thought so far ahead. To the end. He thought to the end.
We'll go through it. But it's cool, you know, with the manga, it talks about, there's interviews at the end, and he talks about how he has essentially plot pointed a lot of the show. The fine details aren't there, but there's big, key, crucial character development or events that happened, and he had that planned out like way in advance. And then he approached it, that's when he started to flesh it out. But it's just really cool. I mean, you can even see it. we'll get to it as the episodes progress. But To You in 2,000 Years, crucial title. Right off the bat, Eren is being lazy. Mikasa is putting in all the work, as always. Just kidding. Just what a legend Mikasa is.
Hey, no one knows that. She's just a girl. So
the school bullies are afraid of her.
That's true.
Yeah.
So you kind of see that. Their voices in this were like, they sound so young.
Yeah.
So you're so used to the older voices because you just watched the end of the series of when they're grown up.
Yeah, we did.
So going back, you're like, oh my gosh, they're so young.
Yeah.
But
Eren wakes up crying, feels like it's been a long dream. All kind of really interesting things to kind of think about.
Yeah. They talk about this first scene. Are my notes right? Yeah. They're kind of talking about the Titans, aren't they? Like the Titans are just hanging outside the walls.
Yeah, transitioning as they're walking it back into the walls after picking up firewood.
Yeah. And they're just like scratching the walls outside. Can they hear the Titans? Do you think they can hear them?
I don't know. That is interesting. I am not sure.
Hear them scratching the walls? Because that'd be kind of like that. That's constant
Yeah,
fear.
if you're like living on like
right
if your
next to
house is
it.
connected to the wall, you're just hearing these like
scratches.
Yeah, that would be a little freaky.
And it says the last 100 years they scratch at the walls. I put Eren be an angry little boy. He's got some rage.
He's got some angst.
Got some teen angst in that.
He's a little frustrated boy. But yeah, no, as he's walking into the walls, they're already in the walls, but as they're kind of walking more into like inner cities and whatnot, because there's kind of more of like farmland, and then there's more of, I don't know what you would call it, like an industrial suburb where there aren't like farmlands that they were just out collecting wood at. Yeah,
like a village.
Yeah.
It's like a village.
So yeah, these walls 100 feet tall, or really, really tall, or is it meters?
50 meters?
50 meters. And they talk about that actually in the manga. It's cool. He kind of writes it down. I think it's 164 feet.
Oh, really? They say the exact amount?
Yeah, he like writes it down.
Is this, so right away, is this Eren waking up?
164 feet. No, this is after Eren's woken up.
Oh, and
they're
then
walking
Mikasa
into
is
the
like,
walls.
Eren was
you
were crying. You should get that checked.
Yeah.
Literally.
And,
you should get that checked by a doctor.
Eren makes a point of like, oh, it's not a medical thing, so kind of figuring out Dad's a doctor.
Okay.
You run into this soldier, Mr. Hannes. He's drunk and he's working.
Yeah.
Seems like he's kind of living the life, but he kind of made, just kidding. No, that's not good. Don't do that. But he kind of makes a joke of like, because Eren is like appalled. He's like, why are you drinking? And you're like on duty.
What if something happens?
Right. What if something happens? What if they get through? Good on Eren. Way to go. Way to go, buddy.
Point that out.
Yeah. Way to instill some conviction.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think like, Mr. Hannes, like he kind of brings a fair point. It's a little deep, but he's like, if people are looking at us as like freeloaders who get drunk, then like times must be good. Like if we were like really astute and on it, like that would kind of be worrisome. It'd be tense, there would be a lot of fear. So, but it's been 100 years of peace, 100 years of no Titan attacks or whatsoever. And so Eren is basically like, well, that basically we have the peace of mind of livestock. At least that's what he says in the dubbed version. Subbed version kind of talks about it a little bit more as like we're trapped, like we're birds in a cage at that point.
Which brings us to the birds.
Birds again,
Symbolism.
Yeah. So they kind of move on with it. I think it's interesting at this point in the manga and subbed version. They like as they're leaving that conversation, Mr. Hannes is like, wait a second, don't tell me Eren wants to become a scout, which that's the first time we've heard about it. In the dubbed version, he doesn't say just like, oh, I wonder what's on his mind. But I think
it's two completely different things that happen there.
Right. And they talk about it like immediately after Mikasa reinforces it by saying like, you don't want to become a scout, do you, Eren? Like you need to drop that dream. But I think having the manga and subbed version kind of, it's a direct.
It's more, so kind of discovered, it's the manga is just, it gets to the point faster.
Yeah,
Whereas
the Japanese kind of overall version of the anime and the manga is like a lot more direct.
yeah,
Just tells
it's
you how
kind
it
of just
is.
getting straight to the point. Whereas with the English subbed version,
Dubbed
I
version.
keep saying it wrong. The dubbed version, it's you're kind of putting it together more.
They
in your
use a
head.
lot more like analogies.
Yeah.
I feel like, you know,
I
which is
wonder why.
probably a cultural thing maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
At this point, Aaron's like, don't crush my dreams, you know, whatever. But here they hear the bells that the scout regiment has returned. So Aaron gets excited. He's like, let's go see the heroes return, which they use that word a lot. Like, let's go see the heroes. And then as they arrive, seeing the scout regiment come back, they see like how there's like only 20 of them
And
after
they all look
supposedly 200
really
have left.
Beat.
Yeah, they're all like bloody, downcast. This lady is like, you know, comes charging in throughout their entrance and is like, where's my son? Like, is my son back home? Like, did he come back? And the commander, who is a figure that comes up kind of later too, so you can pay attention to him. She's like, where's my son Moses? Which I feel like it's worth pointing out in the manga.
It's a different name.
It's a different name. It's Braun, Braun, which is a name used later in the series. So that's also kind of something interesting
why,
that's
but
pointed out that the anime just completely disregards. I don't know why. I don't know. Maybe that was
maybe they didn't want to confuse people.
Yeah, it might have been
'Cause it is the same
Isayama's like, oh, I didn't mean to share this name, and like this future person might have this, so I don't want to double dip to cause conspiracies or whatever. So, but I think it's interesting.
We're creating them. We're creating conspiracies.
Why'd you do that? Yeah.
We want to know why.
Yeah. So the commander is just basically like, bring it to this mother.
Does he even say that? They just
He's
hand
like,
her
go get it.
They hand her a
what's left of her
wrapped
son
in cloth, and it ends up being her son's arm.
You know, nice thought.
Yeah.
If my son died, I would at
wouldn't
least want them to bring his like finger back.
No, I wouldn't want anything.
I don't know. I would just be like, your son died. Like, oh.
Yeah, just tell me. Don't hand me an arm to figure it out myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this was one of the moments where I was like, I thought I'd be desensitized to this. Nope. This is worse.
Yeah.
I'm feeling worse here.
But I think like overall the show does a good job at like portraying horror. I think it does a good job at portraying an honest like human response to things. Even just with her next or like with her next question being like, did he at least die for a purpose, or was it all in vain? Was he brave?
In honor.
The subbed version kind of makes it more so of an honor thing. Like, did he serve humanity? But English says like, was he brave? Probably also another cultural difference.
Yeah. And then this is just so weird. I don't know why I think this is interesting, but the soldier commander guy is like, he was brave, and he's like screams that his eyes are wide. He's like, he was brave.
Well, I think
looks like a robot.
He's trying to like,
it's almost like
put on this air of confidence. Like, yes.
It was almost like he's like, that's what he should say.
Yeah.
You know, and
that's what society would expect him to have, that intensity of a commander.
Yeah.
He was brave. Yeah.
That commander looked little.
Well, but then it kind of goes into it that he's basically reveals like, we didn't accomplish anything. It was all for nothing. I sent them to their deaths.
His sacrifice meant nothing.
Yeah.
And just imagine being the people watching that. The commander having a mental breakdown.
Understandably, they're all like, our taxes are going to fatten the fodder for the Titans.
Yeah.
But I think just even that, like reinforcing, like, I feel like other shows wouldn't maybe talk about, like, or at least reveal that honest human emotion of like, no, I'm a failure. I led them to their deaths. Like, and show it in such a raw way. They might stick to the gun of like, yeah, no, he died honorably, but then reveal it later. But it's like, it adds to the horror of it, subliminal horror, I think. I think
that's why people are drawn to the show who like maybe haven't even watched anime ever. It's like this first episode, it's strangely, it's like not real, but it is real.
Yeah.
You know?
It's very honest. It doesn't like kind of sugar doesn't like really sugarcoat it a little bit. Yeah. So, yeah, moving on, and Aaron is, righteously trying to defend these scouts of how they're the best, they're heroes, but these villagers are, dissing on them. But Mikasa is trying to drive it home, like, you still want to become a scout and like die, essentially. Yeah. Like it's a suicide game.
Yeah, and then it goes into information about the wall. And they kind of show it like it's a documentary, like you're learning about, this society or whatever. Yeah. Do you have what the wall says?
I do. So it says information for public disclosure, walls part 1. Humanity lives surrounded by 3 layers of walls. The exterior wall is wall Maria, then wall Rose, and the center wall is wall Sina. So that's that first section. Then it goes to second panel being part 2. The space between the walls are roughly equal in area. Maria and Rose are approximately 100 kilometers apart.
It's like
probably twice as... Yeah,
well, I'm just thinking the shape of it visually. It looks like just a circle within a circle within a circle.
It's like an onion.
Like an onion.
Like an ogre. Circle. Different 3 layers of circle. So Maria, the outer wall, and Rose are approximately 100 kilometers apart. Rose and Sina, the middle and innermost wall, are approximately 130 apart. Sina is approximately 250 kilometers from the center. So... yeah. I don't know. Interesting facts. I like that he includes those details. It kind of fleshes it out a little bit, especially if you're writing it with the mindset of maybe an anime adaptation. It kind of provides like a mental image of the layout of this world. Yeah. Yeah. Then at this point, we're halfway through the show.
She's like, your ears are red. Are you lying?
Well, yeah, because she asks if Mikasa did all Aaron's work again. Yeah. Which, yeah, because he was sleeping on a hill, on a very crucial hill.
Yeah, important hill.
Important hill.
Symbolic hill.
Yeah.
One thing is that it shows, like, a lot of the times through little images, it'll show flowers outside the window, outside the wall. Yeah. And I'm wondering if there's some sort of symbolism, whether that's just like life or... yeah. And it seems to always be outside of where they are.
Grounds you a little bit to reality. Yeah. It's kind of like that's like a Ghibli detail. I feel like Studio Ghibli always does like detail on cooking food and stuff like that. Little, yeah, it's nice. So then what happens after that, Mikasa outs him. And she's like, Aaron wants to become a scout. Mom's mad. Dad
is weirdly calm.
Though the two
doesn't faze him. He's like, okay.
The interesting thing is the subbed and dubbed version are different in how the dad responds, which I think it's because it's an important scene kind of for what happens later. And so the subbed version kind of treats it a little bit more as he's curious as to why Aaron wants to become a scout. Why is that something that you want to do? Whereas the dubbed version kind of makes it more like it's a nightmare. Like, you're gonna die. And then Aaron kind of then responds to that and says well, it's better than essentially being in a caged animal. The world is ours to explore. So Aaron's response, no matter what, is the same, but I think it's interesting. The dad's take, it's a different kind of character response that I think the dubbed version missed.
It can completely change the character.
Yeah.
And I find that super interesting. Imagine just watching it subbed the whole time could change how you see the characters completely. So very interesting.
But regardless, the dad is like, all right, and gets up and leaves.
Okay.
And bye. Then the mom's like, come on, scold him, and he's like, you can't scold curiosity, I'm like, that's deep. That's a good dad right there.
And
Grisha Yeager.
And Aaron literally calls his mom's life pointless at this moment.
Oh, really? Saying that when
he gets mad at her, he's like, your life is pointless. I'm like, geez.
You know,
that
classic.
to your mom?
We all said that to our mom when we were 12 years
No,
old and
no.
like going through puberty and we're like wanting to be cool.
Your
Just
life
kidding.
is pointless. So sad.
Yeah. But then dad leaves on a business trip for like a week or so, or a couple days to the inner wall. Dad's a doctor, as we previously said. And as he's leaving, he says, you know, shows this key that he has with him and says, Aaron, when I come back, remind me to show you what I've been working on in my cellar in the basement. Also, you know, I mean, not very hidden, but they talk about that later and get into that. Pay attention. Yeah.
And then next scene, we go to where we
meet Armin.
Well,
we'll kind of in between that, you know, they say like, bye dad. Mika, or the mom, is like, Aaron, forget about it. Aaron runs away because he's upset that his mom doesn't support his dream to become a scout. But the mom,
after he called her pointless, I wouldn't support him either.
The mom has this moment with Mikasa and says, whatever you do, just protect Aaron. Which is also kind of something to pay attention to. Kind of, you get a little bit of, you know, it's just something to pay attention to of how Mikasa is the stronger kind of the two.
Yeah.
So
you see that.
Yeah.
Then we meet Armin and
all brains, no bronze.
Yeah. No bronze.
All brain, no brawn, Armon.
And that was silly. And so he's getting like bullied, right?
Yeah, and they're basically, why don't you fight back?
And Armin is a little wimpy boy, and he's just like,
he's a bigger man.
But he's the most rational kid ever.
Yeah,
and
he's like, if I fight, I stoop to your level of essentially
who
a
says
beast.
that at whatever age he is?
I argue with my words, not with my fists. I don't know if that's what he says, but it's essentially what he says.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
And we have them, you know, walking, and what happens next?
Well, so Aaron comes to like save the day, which the bullies don't care. They're like, we can take Aaron, but then they see Mikasa and they're like, oh shoot, we gotta get out of here. Which kind of reinforces, oh yeah, like she is a protector of Aaron and Armin, and it kind of directly reinforces, I feel like, this idea. Aaron is like, you know, the bullies run away and he tries to help Armin get up, but Armin refuses the hand. So, you know, refuses the hand to be stood up by Aaron.
Wow.
Character, you know, a little character detail, I feel like. He's a man of his, he earns his way. He doesn't want to just be a leech.
Yeah.
But they kind of start, then him, Armin, and Mikasa, Aaron, Armin, and Mikasa go and kind of essentially just start summarizing, you know, Mikasa outed me. Why did they bully you? And then Armin basically has this, he agrees with Aaron. I think that the subbed and manga version really kind of talk about how, or focus more so how Armin agrees with Aaron that like humanity's future lies beyond the walls, but he isn't really one to make that change.
Make an action.
He's not gonna become a scout, anything. But he believes, you know, that life, we can't just live in these walls. Mikasa is just kind of like, at this point, what's the point of dreaming? And actually the manga includes details of the government forbids you even from dreaming about going outside the walls, which is ironic considering that they have a whole scout regiment whose like point is to go beyond the walls. Like, I don't know why they do that, but yeah, that's like was an interesting detail. That the
seems like a lot like Aaron's wants to become a scout so he can get out of there. Yeah,
he believes that the world is like his. Humanity's to you know, return to. So.
Yeah, and then they kind of start talking about the walls, right? And
yeah, like how it's a fleeting, you know, it's a fleeting sense of peace, even though there's been no attack in the past 100 years. It is a fleeting sense of peace. There's no way that you can just have peace stuck inside these walls.
And I think it's Armin that says it's only a matter of time. Only a matter of time.
And then literally seconds later.
How ironic. It goes quiet.
This giant explosion happens outside the walls.
Well, it goes quiet. Everything kind of slows down. The wind stops. And then
good animation detail.
Yeah, and then this explosion happens. And obviously the wall has been kicked down or whatever. There's a hole in the wall.
Yeah, well, at this point, right, this explosion happens. They go to check it out. And they see this giant Big Daddy Titan loom in there, and they're like, "What the heck? This wall is
coming out of his face.
That wall is 50 meters tall. How is a Titan looming over it? Because the highest Titan, at this point that's been, I think, revealed is like 5 meters. I think it's
I don't know.
I want to say it's 5 meters. Maybe it's like 5
5
to 10.
meters doesn't sound right.
I feel like it's around 50 to like 15 feet. That's the range.
Okay, yeah, that
so
makes
sense.
sense.
I don't know. I'm not going to
And
make
this
the
one
meters.
is over 100 whatever.
Over 50 meters tall. He's looming
100
over this
feet.
walls. Yeah. So
whatever that is. And then
kicks down the wall.
opera music of people singing starts when they see the Big Daddy Titan. What would you do in this moment?
I'd run immediately. Probably not. I would do what they're doing. I'd watch. I'd be like,
You'd
what's
watch?
happening?
I would literally want to be the first person to die. Like, I'd be like, I wouldn't want to see the horrors of all that goes on.
Yeah, you'd want to be one of those people.
I would be the one that got hit by a
squished.
rock.
Yeah.
Who's got hit by a boulder.
You would see a
and then
boulder
I
flying
never-
towards you, and you wouldn't
That's
run
it.
away from it. You'd run like into its shadow to get squished.
You're like, just please, I don't want to see what
I don't
happens.
want this reality.
Yeah.
Well,
No,
and
I
that's
would do
kind
that.
of what Armin says. He's like, we're all gonna die. Like,
Yeah,
there's
he's
no
literally
point.
like, we're all gonna die.
And chaos is ensuing. People are running away.
And I immediately get ready for my death count tallies.
Yeah.
With my little post-it note,
Mm-hmm.
which I didn't even bring it. We forgot
I think there was
that.
like,
Well, we know how many. Don't say it.
yeah.
And
Aaron's running towards the home because he sees that a rock fell in that general
the first
direction.
Titan you see be ugly. He
yeah.
is.
They don't show like I
creepy
said,
little
they
smiles.
don't show the full detail, but they're showing more. So they show like the smile,
well, you
but they
see
don't
the face
show.
right away coming through the shadows.
Well, yeah, but you don't see like the eyes. You don't see like the full
Oh, do you just see the
100%
smile?
features. Yeah,
Oh.
you don't see the full feature of these Titans, which why they got to be naked. I don't know. That was
Why would they be wearing clothes though? That
that's
means
true.
there'd be like a civilization where they make clothes for the Titans.
Hey, let's get into that. I don't know,
Whoa.
why isn't there? No, but I think I was very conscious about it as a kid because like I didn't have a TV in my bedroom, so I'm watching this anime Attack on Titan in the
your
living
living
room,
room.
and these giant like naked, no genitals, Titans,
Naked.
giant people, and I'm like, oh, I feel like my mom's gonna walk in here and just be like, what are you watching? Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
so they start running to
they
where
run
that
to the
rock
house,
fell.
and then Armin does something where he reaches for them, and then he kind of restrains himself. Like he wants to take action, but he's logical, and he probably thought that probably wouldn't be smart. So I'm gonna go
Yeah.
run somewhere else.
He's led more with his head than his heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Death everywhere.
yeah, death everywhere,
Casual.
death count. We're going.
Starts
Death
going
count.
up. They turn the corner. House is under a giant rock. Where's mom? I feel like even talking about the scene, I get goosebumps. They do it so well.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
They animate it so well. Even just Isayama, like how he portrays it. Like
Yeah.
it's
And
just
his
as
mom
deep.
is under the house, half under the house.
Aaron trying to get her
Her
out
legs
of there.
are broken. She's not going to make it.
Yeah.
Literally
This is so sad. Like,
yes,
you know?
it's so sad. That scene is they really are good at making it feel real, and like the way
Yeah.
that people would react in that moment, it's too real. I feel like I'm going to be traumatized by the end of this rewatching this.
yeah.
Oh, okay. And then we see this giant
Approaching. You hear the giant approaching. Still doesn't really
Titan.
show any details.
And
And
then
then
it shows
to
her.
save the day, good old drunk Mr. Hannes. He sobered up. He
He
sobered up.
sobered up real
He
quick.
sobered up real quick. He's like, oh shoot, yeah, I shouldn't have drank today.
Yeah. I don't know, maybe it make him feel a little bit less scared.
Yeah, that's true. Steel your nerves.
Yeah.
Right? Calm thy hand.
Calm
Have
thy
a swig
hand.
of thy whiskey.
And he sees, well, we've seen the Titan by now.
No.
Well, then why did I write she ugly? I think I'm talking about the Titan.
Well, I don't know. I just know if it does show it, it shows it approaching and like
Okay.
maybe some of it.
Okay,
But
I think I'm...
the full horror of the Titan, the mom is like, get him out of here. And he's like, come on, don't doubt me. Like I can save you, Carla. I can save these kids. So it shows him just kind of approaching.
He's got swagger.
Yeah, he's approaching this Titan like full speed, running a solid 10 miles per hour probably. And he's like, I got to make good on the debt I owe. I can save the kids, but like nothing fancy. And then
nothing fancy, get it done, get the mom out, get the kids out, let's go.
And I think if this is like your first time watching it, you're like, yeah, he's going to do just that. He's going to kill this Titan. He's going to run away with the kids. Mom's going to be saved, because that's what I feel like a lot of modern movies or media go. They don't go too deep. But then he sees now in full detail the like ugly horror of this smiling Titan.
Naked. We're going to call this Titan Smiley Titan.
Smiley Titan. And
Creepy
he just
Titan.
like stops and he like puts his swords away and he's like, no, I gotta get out of here.
Yeah, he's like paralyzed with fear.
Which is crazy. Like I feel like that too is what also got me when I watched this first time. I'm like, oh, like they're taking a different plot than
you thought
this,
he was gonna say that and the episode would be over. Nope.
Yeah, no, he grabs the kids and runs away. Mom's like, thank you, Mr. Hannes.
Yep. And the mom.
But then she starts having flashbacks. It's so good. She starts having flashbacks of like Aaron as a kid, and
I thought he was having those flashbacks.
No, she was.
And then
she starts crying. And she's like, "Don't leave me."
Yeah, and then Mikasa, it's so good, man. And then Mikasa,
well done,
is smart, and she turns away. She doesn't want to see what's about to happen.
Right, because
Aaron
the Titans
watches the whole thing.
Yeah, the Titans got her at this point.
Yeah, she's like fighting it. She's trying to hit it. It shows like kind of the silhouette of her fighting, and then she just gets chomped, basically.
And Aaron watched the whole thing. Blood's everywhere.
Yep.
And then narrator comes in and just kind of wraps it up, saying and it was that day that the humiliation of being
humiliation.
The Japanese phrases it as humiliation. I feel like English really just phrase it as like humanity is cattle, trapped, but the Japanese and subbed and manga version say it's the humiliation of being at their mercy, which is just, it doesn't change the plot, but it's interesting.
Changes it a little bit though.
Yeah.
And then we have a final wall explanation, and then that's the episode. And dang, a lot happened, and a lot is going to happen. So much is going to happen.
Yeah.
And for this episode, I have the death count as 4. Only 4. Now, we know there were a lot more deaths, but we're doing the death count as what we see on screen. It is obvious someone died.
Yeah.
And
not just like implied, because obviously he kicks the wall down. Boulders are like thousands are dead, but we don't see them all. Yeah, so how do we put a number on that? We're just saying
what we see.
Yeah.
And then Mikasa says Aaron 3 times. Not good tallies for this episode.
Low numbers.
It's going to get higher for sure.
Numbers.
And I'm excited to see at the end of the season how many it's going to be total.
Yeah, or how many deaths total.
Yeah. Okay, well, we're going to go into spoiler alerts.
Yeah.
So if you...
Well, overall, just good episode.
Good episode.
Like in general, first episodes go of any show, I would say it's probably the best.
Oh, yeah. I mean...
Yeah.
So
live
much.
Action or animated.
So much makes you want to watch more.
You're hooked. I always tell people, if you're curious about like Attack on Titan, watch the first episode and you'll know. Yeah. Like you don't need to get like the 3 episode rule, or everyone has different ideas.
It's 20 minutes. It's not like you're watching a 45-minute show. It's 20 minutes, and then you get intrigued and you want to watch more.
Yeah.
But okay, let's go into spoilers. So if you haven't watched to the last minute of this series, the whole series,
the very end,
get the heck out of here and don't listen, because we're about to spoil so much.
We're going to talk about things that we noticed that apply to later.
Bye. Yeah. Goodbye.
Okay. Give you a second. Click off. Oh no, your phone isn't working. You can't hit the exit button. Please don't say anything. Bye. Bye.
Gosh, thank God they're gone.
Bunch of chumps. I can't believe they haven't watched it yet.
Just kidding. Okay, so
first episode,
spoilers,
ripe with
so many things. So I wrote the spoilers, I think, for this. We know that Aaron is waking up from his dream of seeing his whole life. Essentially. He somewhat has forgotten it right away, but he will remember parts.
And it kind of hints at it, because as he's dreaming, it's cutting through scenes of, yes, the Smiley Titan, but in a vague way, like his mom being picked up. And so you're kind of getting this weird sense of like he is seeing the future somehow of the events of that day.
Of that day, literally.
So I don't know why when I was watching it, I didn't think about that soon. I always thought it was an interesting detail that like he's kind of having a vision of what's to come, but I thought that was more of like a writer's choice.
Yeah. And then we have the names of the women of the walls. Maria, Rose, and Sina are Ymir's children who eat her.
Yeah. Gross. Yeah. And then another thing, which I probably should have included this as at least to pay attention to for the first timers, but in the very beginning of the book or of the manga, when Eren falls asleep, he wakes up after having the nightmare, and the first thing that he says to Mikasa, which the dubbed and subbed version don't include this, but he says, "Mikasa, when did your hair get so long?" And that's because the last moments of his quote-unquote dream, but aka his life, that he just saw was Mikasa cutting off his head with short hair.
Yeah.
And so
because he opened his eyes for that moment.
It's such a throwaway line, which I don't know if it was intentional that they didn't include it in the dubbed or sub version, maybe as like a spoiler thing, or maybe they just were like, why is this in detail included? But it's so like you don't even acknowledge it. If you were to read this day one, you wouldn't think about that. You just kind of be like, oh, he's groggy. He woke up from I've had that dream, long dream. Yeah,
that's a big one right there.
Yeah.
Mikasa is wearing the same outfit that is basically her staple outfit, but I'm saying she is buried in that outfit with the scarf. At the end of the last episode, when it's almost like the credits, it goes through kind of, their life and all that. And you see that she is in a coffin. You know it's her because she's wearing that outfit. She's wearing the scarf that Eren gave her. It's interesting how calm the dad is, Grisha, about him wanting to be a scout, even though he knows what's actually out there.
Well, and they kind of get into it in that season 3 or 4, whenever they out kind of that Eren was able to manipulate his father's memories, and that like Grisha and Zeke, Zeke was the failed experiment of his father the first time around. That he was trying to instill the sense of freedom against the Marlians. And all of that. And so, Zeke is going through this flashback to show Eren that your dad brainwashed you this idea of freedom. But Zeke starts to see that, no, you're born with this sense of freedom. Eren was not manipulated by his father. And so that scene does it better, in that Grisha is kind of like, oh, wow, like, no, my son is what Zeke should have been in a way.
Dang. That's good.
Yeah.
We know the key that he shows to the cellar, which is where his dad has been working on things, is basically where all things are revealed.
They take so long to get there.
I know. Yeah. The whole time you're like, what about the key? What about the cellar?
Yeah.
Like, get to it.
Well, and I think that just even rewatching it, especially after you learn that Mikasa kills Eren at the end of the series, and like they always are just reinforcing how Mikasa is helping him, pulling him out of dangerous situations, and especially now the mom being like, Mikasa, protect him. And she does she kills him.
She does that till the end.
Yeah,
but she's
the one
doing
who
him a
ends
favor
his
for that.
life. It's just it drives it all home more.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
And then we have this one's cool. The one that kills the tie-in that kills his mom is Dinah Fritz, who is Zeke Yeager's mom, who is Grisha's first wife, who is technically Eren's stepmom.
Yeah. So then this whole time you're like, vengeance on by the first wife, but then no, you realize Eren sent that Titan to kill his mom. Yeah, we know his mom died because that Titan, Dinah Fritz, was going to kill Bertold, so he had to move her away. He skirted her over to kill his mom. Yeah. So wild. That's crazy. Yeah. And then we know that Armin is the narrator. He's the narrator talking. I don't think
in this first episode, and you can think of it as Armin retelling this story to people.
Yeah.
In
yeah,
the
exactly.
future.
And just the whole title of the episode to you in 2,000 years. It's, you know, the boy and the dog ending at that tree at the end of the whole season, whole series. So just way to go, Isayama. Way to go. So
job.
good. So
It's great. Okay, cool. That was a lot.
yeah.
Thanks for sticking through. And yeah, we're excited to just keep going through the podcast or through the episodes and the whole show.
Yeah.
And
if there's anything super cool that you noticed too, or fun facts, just like shoot them
that we have missed
our way.
We'll figure out a way
talk about
to
things, you know, the last couple, you know, 15 minutes.
We need to figure out a way for people to, you know, be able to submit stuff to us so we can like talk about that, because it'd be fun eventually for people to be putting things in that we can, you know, shout out people's names and talk about whether we notice them or we just want to like involve people in it. So yeah, we'll see you guys next week for episode 2 of season 1.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Bye.